All right, man, I got a question for you. In today's society, I think an ever-pressing question or concern is how do we go about our life encountering people, individuals, where we disagree with them on a topic, whatever it might be, and we find out we disagree with them about something, we have a difference of opinion, maybe about a conflict or an issue or a sensitive topic. How do we disagree with people in a respectful manner? How do we encounter individuals in our day-to-day life that have different opinions, different beliefs, and especially about those really sensitive topics that we're really passionate about? How do we disagree in the right way to where we don't become a society of just endless hate because we don't agree? How do we handle that? Because it seems like this is a ever more present situation that we're facing in society, and I see it all the time. And I'm wondering, A, how do we fix it? But for the topic of this discussion, how do you deal with those situations where you disagree with someone or you've different of opinion and it doesn't end with you just trashing the other person?
So before I give a straight answer, I'd like to take one moment back here because you said something I thought it was pretty important to acknowledge, which was it's ever present, increasing in presence, and I'm seeing it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to, while you could make the argument, look, there's always been disagreements amongst people, this particular time in human history is a little different because we have the internet.
Yep.
25 years ago, I didn't know about a fight between two guys in Indiana.
Right.
I would never have known about it. Now, with the internet, I could know about a fight in Indiana, and all of it is going to be in my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Always buzzing. That, it's worth acknowledging the difference that one thing is. Because if I was just to turn my phone off for 10 days,
right,
the amount of actual conflict that I'd run into would drop by 95+%. Because the people we actually walk around with on the day-to-day aren't the people on the internet. Generally speaking, there are sectors and certain one-offs who are like that and certain groups within that. But the people we actually deal with, at the store, at work, at home, in the circles that we physically inhabit, are not usually the people online. And the ones who are that way are usually fueled by being online. So I just want to acknowledge the difference of society between the internet affecting us and then those in my direct and influenceable circles. I just wanted to acknowledge that.
So maybe you encounter conflict more with the internet.
Correct. Because we have a tool, we have a direct spider web to everyone on the planet and their relatives.
Yeah.
So very wide swath. But let's bring it in. Let's say, because I do believe those are two different answers also. How do you respectfully disagree with someone in person is very different than how do I respectfully disagree with someone on the internet. I do consider those to be quite different answers. So I think let's start with the person.
Yeah, because I think that's probably the more relevant one because you can have your internet discussions and your fights and you whatever. But I think our personal interactions with the real people around us, I think is what really matters.
Yeah. So when I was when I first started in my sector, I'm in the finance sector.
Mm-hmm.
I worked with a guy who on paper, we don't agree with anything.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't. So after work, I said, hey, why don't we go shoot some pool? You know? So what we did, I'm like, hey, I need to know why you think the way you do. I'd love just to hang out. I think differently than you. Help me understand how you got there. What ideas do you have about this? And so, we just went out, we shot some pool, at the bowling alley.
Yeah.
It was fun. And he just told me about, we started, the high level stuff. I think this, you think this. Okay. Well, then you ask the following questions. What do you mean by that? Because a lot of times when I met someone and they say, I believe X, Y, and Z. And when I ask what they mean by that, they don't tell me the definition. They tell me something else entirely unrelated that they're now calling this thing. So we're not using the same language often. So that's something. It's like someone says, man, I hate, this is a weird word, I hate animals. If they just say, I hate animals. But in their mind, they've only ever met cats. Then it makes perfect sense. But if you're a dog person, like, how could you hate a dog? No, they actually have something specific in their mind. So asking people to ask, what do you mean by that is huge. Get them to keep talking, because maybe they're using a different word, maybe a situation. Then you follow it up with, well, how did you get there? Help me see that. Go.
Yeah, it's what I'm hearing you say is you have to have an open mind. You have to entertain the possibility that you could be wrong and they could be right. Mm-hmm. Not that you're pursuing that, but you have to have an open mind about the topic.
Yes, you have to be able to believe that someone else could believe different than you. You can still 100% believe they are in the wrong, but you need to understand someone can believe different.
And it's okay.
It may be okay. And then the question is the person you're talking to someone who is possibly making a logical case on something? And you're not going to know that if you immediately you cast the judgment, boom, it's over. You have to ask those questions. Help me understand why you think this particular thing. Because I'm over here. I'm way over here. Mm-hmm. But I need to understand why you think like you do. What if there's a gap in my thinking? What if there's something I didn't take into account in this here? You have to see the person actually sitting across from you.
Yeah, I like that, because if you think about specific instances that I can think of or whatnot, but it always seems like it may be self-explanatory, but it seems like the people who are always so, I'm just going to say hateful, I guess is the best way to say it, about either side of any topic, it's just they're so set on the idea that they are 100% right in every capacity, and there's no way the other person can in any way have any amount of accurate or correct thinking. They're just completely tunnel vision on this person's wrong, that person's wrong. They don't know anything. They, whatever. And I think the more we talk about this, the more I really think the key to at least starting the conversation or entertaining any of those sensitive topics that you disagree with someone on purpose or not, is you have to have that open mind of, even if I'm not willing to budge on what I believe, I have to be willing to entertain what they have to say.
because if you want to actually maintain a relationship with someone and care about the human in front of you, you sometimes have to entertain that, like you were saying, a belief you do not believe that you also know is incorrect. But why does the person in front of you, who let's assume you love and or care about, if that's like friends or family, or someone you have to care about in some way because maybe it's a coworker, someone in your vicinity, you have to see why they believe or think the way they do. Like they got there somehow. They didn't wake up with that belief. Generally speaking, we wake up naturally with very few things. So we have a lot of our stuff is built by experience, those around us, our inputs, a little bit of an echo chamber is where some dangerous stuff happens online, some good, some bad. But that ability to entertain, how did you, a person I love, a person I care about, a person I'm trying to reach out to, how did you get there?
Yeah. And I think another key aspect that I think is starting to show through in what we're saying here is that you're recognizing the humanness of the other person. And I think maybe that's why it gets so controversial online that we see all the time of just hate online, because there's so little human interaction, or I don't know what's the best way to put it, but personality to it. It's so distant and in touch with the other people that whoever it is or whatever it is that you're involved in. But if you sit down face to face with someone, I think it would be a lot harder to have that mindset of they're a horrible person, nothing they say is right, everything they think is wrong, and they're the worst evil, etc. I think that's a lot harder to have if you sit down with the other person and you have that conversation of, look, I don't agree with you, but I want to hear what you have to say. Or at the very least, I don't agree with you, and maybe I'm not really interested in hearing what you have to say, but I can respect that you have a different opinion. And it's not this constant, if you think differently than me, then you're the worst. You're evil. You're whatever.
Right. The desire to maintain a relationship with someone at times has to be greater than your desire to not only be right, but for them to know that you're right.
Yes, it seems like everyone you have to agree with them, or that's it. Like that's the only option. Like they have to press and press and press until you agree with them, and if you won't, it's you're the worst person ever, and you're an evil human being.
And that makes it very difficult. Well, you using the example of, in person, we might talk different. So let's make a fictitious example here. It's very difficult to sit across from someone. Generally speaking, there are exceptions to this rule. It's very difficult to sit across from another human and say, I hate you. It's a lot easier to send a text message to that person saying, I hate you.
Mm-hmm.
Still, if that's something someone you have to see in the next week, a little bit difficult to send that text message. Now, let's remove it further. Let's go online. Now it's someone who you're never going to talk to again. A little easier to send that text. Now it's someone you've never met and will never meet.
Yeah.
We're super easy to send it. Now toss in, if I send a hateful message and I'm online, 3 to 500 or even 3 to 5 people are going to like my comment. Like my little moment of fight and hate. If you ever said something publicly and you had 3 people genuinely walk up and tell you good job, you would think you're a rock star. But you do it online, you get 300 to 500, maybe 1,000 depending on where it is. The consequence for me telling someone I hate them online, if I'm never going to meet them and I have no connection to them and I'm just saying it, there's virtually no consequence, and it's only upside for me because people are just going to jump in. Hey, I don't like them either. What a wonderful thing. We all can hate together. And all of a sudden I actually get dopamine hits. I get praise.
Yeah. And it's almost like it's encouraged online.
Very much. I mean, go ahead.
I don't understand that. Where did that mindset come from of where we encourage that type of behavior online? Or even in person? You're starting to see it in physical reality where people are actually standing in front of somebody and saying, I hate you, you're the worst, you're an evil human being, blah, 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 blah. And just because they disagree on any given topic.
I think this is where it becomes very difficult without getting specific, and we are not getting specific on this today.
No, and I don't want to.
Right. To truly get someone to be able to do that physically either takes emotional hijacking or a true commitment or full deception. I want to say it's got to be one of those 3 usually. To have an adult, normal human walk up to someone in public and just yell at them. Mm-hmm. You're either crazy, you're committed, or you're deceived. And that's real difficult to work with. So what do we do? There's...
Yeah, I guess, what's the real world application to this? Mm-hmm. The internet's out there. It's going to be out there. We can't fix that on this podcast. But how do the average you and I, how do we go about our day with friends, family, relatives, coworkers? We disagree with them on a sensitive topic that they're passionate about or we're passionate about or whatever. Maybe it's a little heated. But how do we not have that end in a horrific manner?
I think it comes down to what is the goal of this relationship. For example, historically in my family, we can get quite spirited on some wonderful discussions here. A couple generations back even, it gets quite fiery. It's kind of a known thing with us. Kind of makes it fun. But at the end of each spirited discussion, at least around, we'll use a current one at our local dinner table, get heated. Immediately after, hey, I love you, bro. How we doing? It has to be, the love for the person has to be greater than my desire for them to believe that I am right. I have to change why I am in this relationship entirely. There are some relationships where the whole goal is agree with me or get out. That is a thing. It's not very common though. But if this is someone I want to have a long-term relationship with, or look, this is a time of my life that this matters to me, then the whole thing has to change. Yeah, I got to approach it with humility. And I also have to realize it's very uncommon for someone to admit or change their mind in a moment. Yeah. They usually have to defend their position, and then in the quiet of their home, they may say, dang it, he had a good point there, but I couldn't back down. I mean, I'm sure no one here has ever been in a fight with their spouse, ever. And somewhere in there you found out, oh, dang it, she's wrong. Right.
Yeah.
Do you ever just stop? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, honey. You're right.
You're right. I was wrong.
Maybe everyone else watching is definitely way more humble than me and never made that mistake every time. So I'm working on it, honey. I love you. But but you have to see what is the most important thing in this here. And it is very helpful to place yourself in their shoes, to say, what would it take for me to do X, Y, and Z? What would it take for me to believe or think X, Y, and Z? This actually works for anything in history too. What would it take for me to have been this person in history? What would it have taken for me to make the same decision my parents made at a specific time in life?
Yeah.
It's very helpful to realize that most people, given the chance to do what other people have done in the same circumstance, most people will usually do the same thing. We all like to think we're this special unicorn. There's very few special unicorns out there. But most logical people would do the same thing. And that's okay, but you do have to be able to ask the question, why do we do that? And is there any possible circumstance that could lead me to be in their shoes and then make that same decision? You need to see the human there. And if you have a very long-term mentality, like I'm actually trying to save their soul and I'd like to see them in heaven, you have to take an even extra layer of humility in here of, I think you're wrong and I'm concerned for your salvation, your soul. I want to help you out of love. And that gets even more difficult and delicate. But you got to see the human. And, if you're a praying person, pray beforehand. Because not everyone loves conflict.
Yeah.
But just because you're unwilling to back down doesn't mean you love conflict. Sometimes you just love the truth and know that if no one stands up for the truth, eventually the truth does fade. Even though you can be right, that doesn't always mean you win every time. It's an eventual win.
Mm-hmm.
The scriptures say correctly wielding the word of truth, which implies that just because you're right, you can't incorrectly wield the truth.
Yeah. The more I sit here and think about it, and the more I ponder this question, because it's a very relevant question today, but really I guess any time, it just seems like so many people are losing touch with the humanness around them. They're losing or have already lost the connection with the people around them, or the person on the other end of the phone, or the other end of the internet. It's no longer you and me sitting down and talking about it, or trying to figure this thing out or discuss it or whatever. It's just me wanting you to say that I'm right and you're wrong. It's just, there's no human connection and there's no open-mindedness. It's, I'm 100% right. There's no possibility I'm wrong, and you have to agree with me. And if you don't, that's it. It's over.
The solution is kind of what it always has been, which is the dinner table. Bringing people back to a family dinner table. My family and I, we've hashed out some good and some bad ideas at a dinner table. Sometimes it gets a little spirited.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the meal, we all love each other because we're all earnestly pursuing truth. And some of us just have bad ideas at times.
Yeah.
But we need to be able to have that dinner table. So on an average day, we'll spend a lot more time on the fake world engrossed on the internet, where we're fed certain things to keep us online. There's a lot more time we spend there than in the physical presence of other humans, actually interacting with them. And a lot of times we'll be interacting with them and still on our phone.
Mm-hmm.
So which one are we? And I'm not against using the internet and phones, and these are phenomenal tools. But when they only feed you items to get you riled up, get you emotional, you tend to lose that human factor. I'd say, I mean, we don't want this to happen because it'd be utter chaos. But if the entire internet just went down on all of our phones for a month solid, it'd be crazy that it would happen, but there'd be a lot less fighting because we'd actually have to talk with the people here. We'd have a lot more of the awkward conversations too of, oh, wow, I haven't talked to someone in a while. Yeah, because you haven't had the face-to-face. You haven't had to say something and then watch people wince when you say it. Yeah. That feedback is very important because at the end of the day, we do live in a society. We're not meant to be alone. So this, feeding off of each other, this is very important. But it goes back to what is the goal? Is the goal also, and it should just be tossed in here, you are going to come across people who do not give a rip about you, who do not give a rip about your soul, and they truly only want to dominate you. In those situations, do not cast your pearls before swine. There are people it is not worth your time talking to, but until you've individually attempted and you've done your best true effort, you don't know who that person is, most likely. Don't write off the family member because they made a goofy post. Make an attempt first.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I think we're so far out of touch with the people that are around us. And I could be wrong on that. Because I'm still actively considering this. It's something that's on my mind pretty often right now. But the more I think about it, it's just so many people are losing touch with the people around them. And that could be anyone from your family or friends or the guy at Walmart or whatever, your coworkers at work or whatever. But the further out of touch we get with just basic human interaction, I think the more this type of mentality shows up of just refusal to admit that you could, not even necessarily that you could be wrong, but just refusal to have an open mind about anything. And I'm not saying, you got to constantly question everything you believe, but you can't only care about pushing your beliefs on anyone and everyone else around you. If you can't learn to habitate with the people around you who might disagree with you on something without hating them, then where have we gone as a society to facilitate that?
One item, and it's a phrase we keep using it, and I think I'd love to find out where this kind of comes back to. We kept using the phrase lost touch or out of touch. And oddly enough, the solution to that is to touch. It's that, hey, how we doing? The hug, the handshake, the shove a little bit, the touch is actually the solution to someone who's out of touch.
Yeah.
Because that you can, and we're not bringing up there are areas where you can't agree in good conscience. That's not today's topic.
No.
This is how do you just disagree and not hate someone? But oftentimes, it's just see the human and make a connection, make a touch. And often in these situations, it is a hug, it is a handshake. I like to use the sports example because it always worked really well in high school. On the basketball court, the person across from me might have been my teammate 10 minutes ago, not right now. Right now, he's my utter foe. I'm going to dominate him. The next minute, as soon as the whistle, we stepped off the court, that is my best friend. And oftentimes, you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to say, for this next 5 to 10 minutes, we are sparring. We are giving it all we got here because we need to find out what is the truth. One of us might be closer than the other one. But the moment this is over, we have to shake hands and be okay.
And I think that's what's missing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that constant spar, that fight never ends. There's never that step off the court, the break from the fight, the end of the battle. It's just constant fighting.
Mm-hmm. I was recently watching some movies, not too old now. It's called Brexit, which is, kind of a weird political movie. But it's about the Brexit over in England.
Mm-hmm.
And mostly way through the movie here, they're at a train station, and the two opposition leaders, total different sides, like really against each other publicly. A train passes, and they missed it till the next one, and they says, "You want to go grab a drink?" And two guys who are sworn enemies go out to the pub, and they just talk like normal people. They don't agree on a lot, but there are some things they do agree on, and they're able to talk about some of those. But they were able to sit down in a civilized fashion and have a drink together. And sometimes that's really the solution. If you don't agree sometimes, just, hey, I care about you. Let's get a drink. Let's go to dinner. I need to get to know you. Because obviously you have some value here, and I'm not seeing how someone with your value could believe certain things. So I'm clearly not, but I've also not lived your life. Mm-hmm. Help me get into your shoes. Help me see the person here.
I think the ultimate key to this is you have to care about the other person. If you don't care about the individual that you're talking to or debating or whatever, if you don't care about them at all, that's, I think, where we lose our way. That's where we lose our way. When we stop caring about the other individual and only caring about being right. I think that's the determining factor. So I think as a society, we have to get back to caring more about the other person than being right. Even if it means us being humble and swallowing our pride a little bit and knowing we're right, but caring more about the other person than being right.
Yeah. Shining the light, showing the truth in love, and praying they can see it too. But to do that, I can't shine my light over here, hide behind a rock, and get mad if there's no light over here. Sometimes you got to go see them and just see the person, like you said. I like your end item there was a perfect summary for this whole thing. I like it. Thank you.
Thank you.